What's up, everybody? I had a video request from a member on YouTube that saw a glimpse of one of the cars I have in the last video I made comparing the 750 horsepower Whippled 2011 GT500 against my 2020 stock GT500. In that video, I had the garage door open and they saw this. So in my video today, I am going to do essentially a review of the 2000 Cobra R 20 years later. It's been 20 years since that car came out. I bought this car in 2016. Absolutely love this beast. We're gonna get into what the 2000 Cobra R is. We're gonna talk about all the components that went into it, how it was developed, and then we're gonna take it out for a spirited run and let you see it in action. So hope you enjoy the video. This is the infamous 2000 Cobra R. There was 300 of these made. They were made by a coordination between SVT, SVE, the engineering department led by John Coletti, as well as a race team called Multimatic. They did a different approach with this car. They didn't use off-the-shelf components, so to speak, for standard Mustangs. They went with basically all the best aftermarket components, and they put it all together in one package, and it's called the 2000 Cobra R. Now, this is the third iteration of the R program, third and last. 93 was the first. 107 of those were made. Then there was 250 1995 Cobra Rs. Both of those required a purchaser to have an active race license. This one, there was 300 of these made, and Ford changed it up. You did not have to have an active race license to buy one of these. But there were only 300 of these made, like I said, and since there were somewhere between 600 and 700 SVT dealers at the time, Ford ran a lottery system based on SVT sales, looking at the 98 model year, and then how many you sold, your dealership sold, you basically got more chances to get one Cobra R. So all 300 of these cars were all built identically. There were no, separate options, so to speak, on the Cobra R. They just stamped them all out the same. There were 5 of these slated to go to Canada. I've got the documentation that came with this car that shows which of the 5 VINs went to Canada. I'll show that now. Five cars to be sold in Canada. Now, they did not have the daytime running lights or kilometers per hour speedometer, simply because all 300 were the same. So because of that, these cars were not street legal initially in Canada. And the only difference actually on the cars of those 5 quote-unquote Canadian cars is a decal in the door jamb. And it says this vehicle is a competition vehicle and is for use exclusively in closed course competition, and then the French translation as well. There is also, these cars had a window sticker that was half English, half French. and I'll show that here now. So other than the decal in those 5 cars, they're essentially all the same. There were no separate options you could get on the 2000 Cobra R. This car in 2000 had an MSRP of $54,955. Most went for well over that. There were some reports of offers in excess of $75,000 turned down by dealers. And like I said earlier, the dealers that were lucky enough to get one only had one. That was it. And sometimes they wanted to retain the car and just keep it in their showroom for something to show. So a little history, the 99 Mustang Cobra ended up getting recalled due to horsepower that was below official rating. They had a casting problem in the intake, and Ford ended up recalling all of the 99s to fix that problem, which went into 2000. And because of that, there was no 2000 regular Cobra. This was the only model of Mustang Cobra, the Cobra R, available in 2000. Now it's often confused with in 2002 when Ford didn't produce a 2002 Cobra simply because the Terminator wasn't ready yet. There ended up being a small number, and I forget the number off the top of my head, like a couple hundred or so that went to Australia. And so there was technically a 2000 regular Mustang Cobra, but very small numbers. And there was no regular Mustang Cobra for 2000. This is it, 2000 Cobra R. All 300 of these cars were painted performance red. And if you look at some pictures online early on, it looks like some of the cars are orange. Well, in fact, there was one pre-production car, a prototype car, also known as the press release car. That car had the race bullets like you see I put on mine. It also had all the decals of the major part suppliers that were down along the rockers in black vinyl to show all the major components that went into that car. But the prototype car, the press release car, was actually a Mustang GT VIN that Ford pulled off the assembly line, and they made their first Cobra R. And that car was painted competition orange. Ford later decided that performance red would be a better color on the 2000 Cobra R. Alright, so the car weighed roughly 3,600 pounds with a 56-44 weight distribution. This was the first time in history that Ford stuffed a 5.4 liter, 330 cubic inch engine into a Mustang. It was also the first time they put a 6-speed transmission in a Mustang. This car was a stripped down road race machine, if you will, with a lot of the creature comfort items removed. It had no air conditioning, no radio, no back seat, no sound deadening, no carpet in the trunk. You can hear all the pebbles that get thrown up into the wheel wells from the tires. The engine has solid motor mounts, or at least it feels like it, that are lowered to create more space for the big intake, which we'll talk about in a second. But the engine itself shakes the car. When you start it up, the whole car kind of vibrates, and when you're getting on it, you feel it, which is kind of a neat thing in my opinion. Alright, like I said, instead of using standard off-the-shelf Mustang parts on this car, Ford used all the best name brand items at the time. You're going to find a B&M Ripper shifter. The exhaust is a mix of Bassani X-pipe with Borla side exit mufflers. side exit mufflers were a necessity with the big fuel safe systems, 21-gallon steel tank. It's a race cell. It's a rubber bladder lined with a foam-filled 21-gallon cell. And because of that, there was no room to run the exhaust out the back, so they went out the side. All right, we're looking at the fuel-safe 21-gallon fuel cell that is rubber-lined, foam-filled, and has a little bit of a history with these cars. They tend to leak over time, and they can cost upwards of a couple $1,000 plus to get a new bladder put in these things. My opinion on the leakage is they basically tend to leak when the cars are left with a full tank of gas and kind of stored that way. I think it puts pressure and degrades seals up at the top where the vents and the fillers come in. But this car has always sat basically almost empty with gas. The first owner that had this car for the first 10 years, he bought it thinking it was street legal in Canada. It turned out it wasn't. So he borrowed a friend's dealer plate and would take it to a car show once in a while. He only put 750 miles on it, or actually 250 miles on it in the first 10 years. And then didn't keep much gas in it. He sold it to a guy in the States who put another 500 miles on it in the next 5 years. I bought it when the car was 15, 16 years old, had only 750 miles on it. I've always kept the tank low on gas simply because I drive this car once in a great while, and I don't want to, always have to deal with old gas. Plus, it also helps with the fuel cell. This is an original fuel cell car. It's over 20 years old now, and this car has 1,200 and almost 50 miles on it, I think it is. And no signs of trouble yet, so yeah, hopefully it doesn't leak anytime soon. Other items on the car, you're going to find McLeod flywheel. It has Eibach springs, which they claimed were 1.5 inches lower in the front, 1 inch lower in the back. The springs were stiffer than regular Mustang Cobras. These had 800-pound front springs, 750-pound rear springs, with the regular rates were 500 and 470. All right, talking more about the brakes. 4-piston Brembos on 13-inch rotors up front. There are cooling ducts from the front fascia that come in right here, and they provide cooling air to a carbon fiber heat shield behind the rotor. Carbon fiber on this Mustang was a first for Ford. Obviously carbon fiber is much more prevalent now, especially with like the GT350 and GT500, the 2020. But this was a big first, getting carbon fiber on the Mustang. On the rear, there is a single piston standard Mustang brake on an 11.65 rotor. The other stuff on the car, you're going to find a Canton racing oil pan and windage tray, Carrillo connecting rods. The transmission is a Tremec T56 6-speed tranny, and Vistion steering and differential. There's also manual Recaro seats in the cockpit, and a Cobra R specific tach and speedometer, which goes essentially 0, 20, 40, 60. So low speeds, kind of hard to read on the gauges there. All right, the beast under the hood. This is a 330 cubic inch 5.4 iron block custom one-off engine that was built specifically for the 2000 Cobra R. In it, you're going to find a forged crank, like I said, Carrillo billet steel rods, forged aluminum pistons, also high-flow aluminum heads that were later tweaked and used on the 2005 and 6 Ford GT. Dual overhead custom cams, custom profile cams, 4 valves per cylinder. You'll see special one-off, this big upper and lower intakes. And the lower intakes were kind of a trumpet design for the higher revving. Let's see what else. Shorty headers, not exhaust manifolds, but actually shorty headers, which are kind of hard to see from here. There's an 11-inch single plate clutch with a McLeod flywheel. The engine has 6,500 RPM redline, and it's rated at 385 horsepower, 385 torque. But those that have run these cars on dynos have indicated that you know, the flywheel horsepower, so to speak, is over 400. So it was well known that these cars were underrated from the factory. It's got great performance, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Another tidbit of information on the engine is it uses 30-pound injectors at 55 psi. All right, performance on this car. It is rated at 0 to 60, 4.4 seconds, 0 to 100, 10.6 seconds. Quarter mile was tested at 12.9 at 110 miles per hour, but this car was not built for quarter mile. As you can see, it's got all the downforce aero components for road course, and the suspension and all the gearing's all set up for road course racing. Lateral acceleration 1.01 Gs, which can be attributed to the great tires that came on this car as well as the suspension. Top speed was drag limited at 177 miles per hour. More on the drivetrain. We talked about the engine already, but that's connected to the Tremec T56 6-speed tranny with close gear ratios for road course setup. In the back is an IRS with 355 gears and hardened half shafts. And this was, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, this was the first time 18-inch wheels were put on a Mustang. They were 9.5 inches wide, forged aluminum, and the tires that came on this car originally were BF Goodrich G-Force KD 265 40 ZR18s, and they were designed specifically for this car and are uber rare now, hard to find, and that's exactly why I pulled my original wheels and tires off. I took them off this car at 900 miles on the odometer, and I've been running Nitto NT05s with late model restorations aftermarket wheels to make them, you know, they look just like the original Cobra R wheels. And then I modded original center caps. Those are original center caps, Cobra R center caps, and got those on the aftermarket wheels. The original tires were super sticky, like I said, and they wear out quickly but provide great grip and simply irreplaceable, and that's why I pulled mine off, and they're stored looking brand new up in my garage loft. Speaking of tires, in the trunk there is a spare tire. That is actually a 95 Cobra R rim, so that's a 17-inch rim with a another, you know, this is the BF Goodrich Comp TA 245 45 ZR17. This is the original spare, and it was recommended that if you had a flat on the rear to move one on the front wheels to the back, simply for the diff back there, and put the spare in the front. So you can see in the trunk there's absolutely no carpet, paneling, padding, nothing. It's just raw painted steel back here. All the extraneous stuff has been removed to keep the weight down. Now, interestingly enough, I talked about the fuel cell, which you can see sticking way down there. Because that big fuel cell required the exhaust to go up the side, the original Mustang and Mustang GT, Mustang Cobra had cutouts for the exhaust. This is the 6-cylinder rear bumper cover because it did not have the cutouts for the exhaust. And it doesn't say Cobra, it just says Mustang on it. Alright, right, identifying features on the outside. As you can see, this big lower splitter slash air dam was added to the front. That's actually a regular 99 Mustang Cobra front fascia. And Ford used, the SVT used the Duzis fasteners, they're called, to secure the splitter to the front fascia. And those fasteners are hard to come by, the splitters are hard to come by. All right, little side story here. When these cars came out, the first printing of the window stickers for the early cars actually indicated a warranty on these cars. Truth be told is the cars did not have a warranty. Ford did not want to put a warranty on a race car. But some of those stickers did get out, and that kind of ties in with outside identifying features. So the big power dome hood has a little bit of an infamous history with these cars. Most of them have blisters from the plant that made the hoods. They didn't cure properly, and then they were painted, and I guess the resin blistered up through the paint. So it's very difficult to find an original hood without blisters. They're either blistered, or they've been replaced with aftermarket hoods. And the easiest way to tell an aftermarket hood is all the top sides are the same. But if you pop the hood and look underneath, that diagonal cross brace there is only on the original hoods, not on the aftermarket hoods. And then also all the decals up here at the top, these are all on the original hoods. Now back to the warranty. Again, there wasn't a warranty on these cars, but since this was one of 5 sold in Canada, the Canadian dealership that took delivery of this car and then sold it to the first customer honored his complaint about the blistered hood, and they actually repainted this hood after some fixing prep work. And that was when the car was first sold, and it's been blister free since the last 20 years. The other big outside identifying feature is the fin on the back. Ford put that on there for the downforce to help this car get better grip in the turns, and provide stability at top speed of 177 miles per hour. One last not well known piece on the outside of the car are the hand-tinted headlights. SV took regular Mustang Cobra headlights, and they added tinting to the inside by hand. They did enough for the 300 cars. They also did enough for a small batch of replacement lights. And you can get them on eBay. They show up once in a while. I got an extra set sitting in my loft, but be prepared because they're not cheap. The New Edge Mustangs ran from 99 to 04, and many people hail the Terminator 0304 Cobra Mustangs as being awesome, and they are. But really, this is the top dog New Edge Mustang right here. Only 300 made, and I have a Terminator. It's fantastic. I've actually had 3 of them. Great car. They're very similarly powered, but in a different way. So 390 horsepower with a supercharger on the Terminator. This is 385 underrated, naturally aspirated. The Terminator is more of a straight line bruiser, although it does have independent rear suspension. This thing is just a different animal. This was set up for a road course, and it is a 100% thoroughbred race car. It's always a race car. It never lets you forget it's a race car. You feel everything. You're connected to the car. It shakes. It's stiff. It's difficult to explain without having driven one. my Terminator, when I drive that, it's cool, calm, and collected. You know, it's not much different than a family sedan, but then obviously has boost. Now my Terminators have always been stock. You can obviously mod those to get crazy. But it's a, you know, very comfortable cruising car. This one is pure race car all the time, and you don't forget it ever while driving. This one also has no traction control, no stability control. You can slide it around with ease. You can point it where you want it to go. You always know exactly what it's doing, where it's going, and it inspires nothing but confidence for a driver. The Terminator's just, again, a totally different feel. Great cars, but just different. When Tom Scarpello, the SVT marketing manager, unveiled this car, he said, and this is a quote, "In the entire history of the Mustang, this is the fastest and the best handling. It combines a lot of equipment and engineering that really make it the best of the breed." Couldn't have said it better myself. This has always been my favorite Mustang of all time. Like I said, it's just a different animal. I've got a garage full of Mustangs, and this one is just different in a good way. Now I have added a 2020 GT500 to the mix, which is insane and on a completely different level. The cars are, you know, they do share some similarities, but very different. And now I've always said I had one favorite Mustang, and this was it. Now I have actually two favorite Mustangs. So this 2000 Cobra R and the 2020 Shelby GT500. Well, that's kind of a walk around of the outside and talking about all the components that went into making the 2000 Cobra R. Now it's time to fire this beast up and take it for a ride. All right, on the inside, you're gonna find basically a standard Mustang Cobra interior. A lot of plastic. Missing are the air conditioning controls, radio. We do have a nice plaque metal plate there that came with the black binder, which I'll show later. That shows that this car is number 178 of 300. We do have the cloth manual Recaro seats and no back seat. All right, time to fire up the beast. So as soon as you fire it up, you feel the car shaking. I think it's, like I said, solid motor mounts. And then as you'll hear once we get going here, the exhaust comes out right below the windows here on the side, not out the back. So even though it's a stock exhaust, it sounds absolutely excellent. All right, we got the car running. I'm all strapped in. It's time to go for a little fun run with this thing. Again, this car has no traction control from the era, and later on stability control was added. This car doesn't have any of that. It does have power steering, power brakes, but it's completely just, I'm a pilot, so I would call it a stick and rudder airplane. You know, it's just raw. Sometimes when you're driving these cars, you'll hear and feel the suspension, especially the rear suspension, articulate, kind of pop and make some noise. It's a very stiff suspension. It's a race car, but I like that actually. I don't take this car out as a daily driver. I'm not commuting to work in it. I'm out having fun. That's why this car was made. Have fun. Alright, like I said, this car has 1,250 miles on it, which is about 60 miles per year since new. I get it out of the garage once in a great while, go have some fun, maybe run some errands just to give it a little exercise, but yeah, it's still like a new car. These cars kind of buck, snort, pop. That was the nature of the, I guess, custom cam profile. And you hear it quite prevalently with the side exhaust right underneath the window, but yeah, we'll have a little fun here. So I don't have my cameraman with me today. He's tied up. So I'll set this camera on the side of the road and see what we can capture. Do a little pass. Don't have a lot of straight room to run here without hills, but we'll see what we can find. So straight lines are fun in this car, you know, but in the last 20 years, we've come a long way in horsepower, all the way up to, you know, this one was around 400 horsepower. Latest offerings from Ford Performance are 760 horsepower. So, you know, this car, where the fun meter pegs, is in the turns. Now, I don't have a whole lot of twists and turns in this area, but I'll take it down a little curvy road here coming up, and we'll show you GoPro out the front and see how that turns out. It's still fun. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. A lot of fun. Like I said, this car never lets you forget that you're in a race car. It's twitchy, it pops, it's loud, it shakes. No creature comforts. These Recaro seats, by the way, they don't recline back. You sit straight up. You know, you're looking right at everything coming at you in the windshield, so to speak. But fun car to drive. It was fun back in 2000. It was crazy back in 2000. It's still a crazy car. I'll get this car back to the garage and I'll finish up the video. See you in a sec. Well, that's it. Got it safe and sound back in the in its cushy life that it lives, climate-controlled garage. I'll put it back on the battery tender, may take it out in another month or two for a little spirited run. But I hope you enjoyed this look back over the 20 years of the 2000 Cobra R. It's an amazing vehicle. If anybody's interested in buying one, look around. You can find them on eBay occasionally. Hemmings, I've seen them on some classic car websites. Prices vary. It kind of depends. You know, the low mile, pristine, you know, clean examples command the highest amount. I've seen those go for upwards of 80,000. A real nice one can be had in the 50,000s. Once you start getting high miles and modded, I've seen some, you know, modded for racing extensively. I've seen twin turbos, all sorts of, you know, you can get those for down probably in the mid-30s. But it's a good collector car, good to have. There's not very many of them out there in circulation. The prices will keep going up. They've been pretty strong for a car that's 20 years old. Typically around 25 years is when you start seeing prices go up for a collector car. So if you want a nice thoroughbred race car, go get yourself one. Thanks for watching. See ya.